A few weeks ago, I was in a hotel room in downtown Chicago, and the people that worked at the hotel reminded us that the Chicago Marathon was going to be happening right outside the hotel, and I automatically started thinking, I need to set up my camera so I could do a really cool time lapse of the whole thing. So when I got to my room, I set up my camera, I made sure everything was plugged in and everything, and the next video that I make is going to go over that process of shooting through a window, because it's not as easy as you would think. In this video, what we're going to do is talk about how I ended up with 7,847 images, all in Sony RAW format. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, Carlos, why don't you just set up your camera to shoot JPEG format images to begin with, and then that way you don't have to deal with all of this extra stuff. I get it, you're right. But number one, I was in a hurry and I forgot to check to see if I was shooting JPEGs or not. Number two, what if there's a really cool image that I wanted to take out of this sequence and edit it and use it, I don't know, for a thumbnail or maybe on Instagram or whatever. Number three, I didn't realize that I was gonna shoot almost 8,000 images. Number four, if I would have been paying attention and did everything right the first time, we wouldn't have this really cool video where we're talking about Sony's Imaging Edge Desktop software. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Carlos, and sometimes I do things wrong, and when I learn something like this software, I bring it to you so then you can relax too, because even if you do things wrong, you can still turn it right. So let's take a look. So here's Sony's Imaging Edge Desktop software. I'm going to leave a link to this software in the description of this video, and it works both for Mac and PC, so we'll be cool, right? The remote section of this software, let's say you connected your camera via USB-C or something to your computer. Using remote, that would actually let you use your camera as like a web camera, and you can actually record directly to your computer this way. That way you don't need any of those, there's a bunch of people that make these HDMI or video translation dongles that you can plug your camera into. With this, you don't need that anymore. Viewer, that's the section that we're going to be playing with in this video. So let's go ahead and drop down to edit. If I click start, and here we are in the edit panel, and if I click this V, it's going to start the viewer. So let's say I wanted to click on this image. I'm going to double click on it, and here we are in the edit panel. And a lot of these tools you'll see are very similar. If you use anything like Lightroom or Photoshop, a lot of these tools are pretty much the same. So you can adjust the brightness, you can adjust the contrast, the highlights, all that good stuff. And down here in tone curves, we're able to use these curves to make adjustments to that image. We can take a look at that a little bit later. If you guys want me to do a video on that part, please let me know in the comments. But for now, let's move on. If you want to know a little bit more about each of these sections, what you can do is just click details, and it'll take you to the website that'll actually break everything down. And here you see remote shooting with Wi-Fi or USB connection, composition adjustment, and all kinds of stuff. Here's the viewer, where it's going to let you do a bunch of the things that we're going to be talking about here in a second. And then obviously edit, we've already talked about that. And now let's go to the viewer section. I'm going to hit start. Now what I want to do is, for video, here we have like 800 something images, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to click on all of the ones that I want to export as a JPEG. So I want to include all of these images. So I'm just going to do Command, or on a PC, you can do Control A. And you see these orange boxes there. Now what I'm going to do is go up to the top, almost kind of to the left to center here. And you see this output button. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And here we have the batch processing output window. Apply each RAW file's own settings to each RAW file. I leave that like that. So now if I click on Save Format, we see ARW, which is basically the extension that Sony uses for their RAW format. You have JPEG, that's considered lossy. And the last one, we have TIFF. TIFF is a more generic file type than is ARW. So you can open TIFFs in kind of everything. TIFF has been around for a long time. But the difference between a JPEG and a TIFF, JPEG files will be smaller in size, the TIFF will be larger in size. But JPEG is lossy, so the more you open and edit and save, the more information you lose every time you save. TIFF won't do that. TIFF is supposed to keep as much data or as much information about that file as possible, not as much as RAW. That's what makes the difference between those three. JPEG is smaller, TIFF is a little bit bigger, and then RAW is a little bit bigger than that. But the bigger the file size, the more information you have. The more information you have about that image, the more editing you can do to it, like adjusting the colors and shadows and stuff like that. Let me know if you have any questions about that in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to explain that more if you need. So to bring these photos into Premiere, what I'm going to do is make sure that JPEG format is selected. For the save in part, I'm going to click Browse, and I'm going to go to my folder, and I know that this is my Chicago Timelapse folder. So I'm going to click New, and I'm just going to say, hit Create, click Open, File Name. I can export the original file name, or I can add different things to it, you know, the date taken and a 5-digit number, and then it'll just come out in sequence, which is helpful when you're bringing that into Premiere. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm just gonna leave it the original file name, and I'm gonna hit save. So now you'll see that this is gonna go through a process of creating JPEGs out of those RAW files. This is a really good point where I can explain to you. I am running a MacBook Pro M1 Max with 64 gigabytes of RAM. When I first started learning this software, I just took all 7,847 images and I just ran it through this whole thing. And for some reason, I kept getting an alert. So the software would stop outputting the images because it was running out of memory. Whether it was RAM or CPU or GPU, if you remember that conversation, we'll go ahead and tag that video right there. But it kept running out of memory, whatever that means. If I ever find out, I'll let you know. What I ended up having to do was I would take, I don't know, a few hundred images, put it in a folder, take another few hundred images, put that in a different folder, and then I just kept doing that until I had everything in a separate folder. So then I was doing this process, but only with like 300 or 400 images at a time, and then it just ended up working properly. So that's my tip to you. If you have 7,847 images, you might not want to do all of them all at once. Go ahead and separate those, and then just let this thing do what it do. Let's skip to the part where this is done. I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and since we are done with this, we have all of our raw images turned into JPEGs. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this. Here we are in Premiere. I already started a new project and everything. So what I'm going to do is hit Command, Control on PC, I to import. And here are all of the images that I turned into JPEGs, but this time I'm showing you guys all 7,847 images. What I'm gonna do is click this first one and click Options. And you see this image sequence right here? Go ahead and click on that. What that's doing is it's telling Premiere, even though I have this one image selected, there's a lot more coming. Grab all of those and put them in sequential order, and it just, you know, it makes things a lot easier for us. I'm gonna click Import. So what Premiere just did is it went and got all of those images, put them in sequential order, and made a little clip for us. So if I take this and drag it down to the timeline, now you see, let's go ahead and go to about 25. Now you see if I hit the space bar, now we get to see the time lapse that we created. I don't know if you guys know this shortcut, but if I click in the preview panel and hit the tilde key, you know, the little Enye key on the top left of your keyboard, hit that, it'll make that panel bigger. And so that way we can actually come here and go to 75. How about leaving it at about 50? Hit the space bar, and now you can see the time lapse. And if you want to make that panel small again, you just hit the tilde key again. So that's our time lapse. But let's say we wanted to either slow it down or speed it up. All we have to do is hit the R key. Take a look at our cursor. It turns into a bar with arrows and a red thing coming around. If we go over to the edge of that clip, now we can actually drag to the left, and the shorter this purple bar is, the faster the video goes. Or if we go to the right, the slower it goes. So let's take a look. I'm gonna drag this all the way to the left, just make it a few seconds long so we can take a look, and look how much faster that is. Similarly, if we drag that to the right, and the more space it takes, the longer it's going to take to get through all the images, and we hit the space bar, now we can see that it's slowed down. So that's a quick little tip if you're trying to speed up or slow down your time lapse. And that works for videos too, and even images. All right, so that's how simple it is to take raw images from your Sony camera, turn those into JPEGs, bring those into Premiere, and even adjust the speed of the time lapse that you've created. If you learned something in this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you know anyone else that's looking to get into filmmaking, animation, graphic design, any of that creative stuff, please send this video on over to them and tell them about the channel. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. It's greatly appreciated. That's it for me in this video, so go out there and live your life and tell your story. I hope this video finds you healthy, and I hope this video finds you safe. See you in the next video.
Coconut tresses.